Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Daybreak Debrief. Geo, how is oneself?
Angry, actually.
Mm,
After the game, I was frustrated because I thought we played really poorly. I think we were fortunate to get the draw in the end. I thought Bournemouth were a better side, and I was really angry with the tactics and whatnot. But it's been completely overshadowed, and I think to some extent, Moyes will benefit from the Said Benrahma and Pablo Fornals thing because all the attention is now turned to what's occurred with those transfers, and understandably so because it's part of the bigger picture, isn't it? You know, the Bournemouth one, it's frustrating. We've got another game on Sunday, but what's happened to Benrahma and potentially Pablo Fornals is greater than what we seen last night. So the focus has shifted on that, and my focus has shifted on that. Truth be told, Charlie, when I said I was angry this morning, it is about what the club have done
yeah.
in regards to Benrahma and possibly Fornals. We're unaware at this point, but the Real Betis CEO has done an update which is leaves it open to West Ham making a mistake on that one as well. Because at the minute, Fornals has not been announced as a Real Betis player, and the CEO suggested that West Ham made an error with the paperwork at their end, which has prevented that transfer going through as well. So we're going to have to wait and see. During the day, we'll get updates. But right now, Charlie, nah, man. Last night I found it funny to some extent because it was almost like how banter West Ham are and whatever. But today, yeah, it's not good. It's either two things. It's one of the most incompetent things we've ever done, or we've done it on purpose, and it's one of the most evil things we've ever done.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my general rule in life most of the time is if you can't rule out incompetence, then it's probably that. Um, and I just think it's incompetence because I just can't see us doing the opposite. I mean, we spoke about it at length last night, for several hours in the end. And yeah, I can't see past that. I think you're right. I think it does take a lot of the heat off the performance. I don't as much as I think it was as much as I don't agree with the reaction of sections of the crowd there who booed after the game. There were boos after the game. There were boos at halftime. And I think a lot of that will be completely forgotten today because of the absolute chaos that has been how the night ended up unfolding. But I mean, where do you want to start? I guess let's start there. Where do you want to start, Jay? Because we're going to try and talk about at least both sides of it, and of
Yeah,
course, be getting interactive with you lot in the live chat. Hello, good morning. Hope you're all well. Hope you all are vibing this morning, despite everything. But where do you want to start? What?
I
Because there's
think if we
so
speak
many
about the
things to.
transfers for 5-10 minutes, and then we try and
Okay.
speak about the game itself, because the transfers will move quick. There'll be updates to these transfer stories, whereas this game, it's done now. What we talk about the game is still relevant later on. The one thing I will say, which makes me believe it's incompetence, is if it happens to Pablo Fornals. If
Right.
Fornals'
Yeah.
transfer hasn't gone through for the same reasons as Said Benrahma's, it would suggest, let's be very kind to the club here, it would suggest admin error. And that has
Yeah.
been very, very kind to the club. And it would maybe give hope that both transfers can still go through. I think Lyon and Real Betis are still hopeful they can sign Fornals and Benrahma because they've done everything at their end. They've met all the deadlines.
Yeah.
So I think their reasoning is they're our players now. We've still signed contracts. The only thing that hasn't happened is West Ham having inserted information into a computer. That is what hasn't happened here. The contracts are signed. The players have signed contracts and stuff. I mean, there's got to be a massive legal dispute as to who actually owns the players at the minute, because arguably Fornals' contract and Said Benrahma's contract with West Ham is now exited.
Void.
They've now left that
Yeah.
contract and they've now got a new one with Lyon Real Betis. So in a weird way, I do wonder we're maybe going to face a situation where Lyon and Real Betis own the players, but they can't actually play them due to the lack of registration from West Ham. And if that happens, then I can imagine there's going to be a big legal dispute on their hands.
Yeah.
And if Lyon's claims, which is what Brian's saying. Just so people know, myself and Charlie did a show last night until 2 a.m. in the morning. We just took it off the channel for various reasons, but so we're aware of everything that's happened and we discussed it. But I guess we should just discuss it as if.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, right. So obviously, as you can tell, if you look at the club website and squad page, Fornals and Benrahma are still here. There's been no statements about them leaving. It came out originally that the Benrahma one broke down first, or at least that's the one that broke first, that it hadn't happened. Lyon put out a very strongly worded statement, which I have currently in front of me. Again, direct translated from French to English, but basically, where's the key quote? They say that everything was signed on their end, essentially. However, at the start of the evening, while Olympique Lyonnais had entered all administrative data onto the dedicated FIFA platform, West Ham never launched the slightest technical procedure on their part, despite repeated reminders from Olympique Lyonnais and continuous mutual telephone communication. They then go on to say a lot of other things, including basically the fact that we disrespected them because of it. Disrespected them and Said Benrahma. And they end it by saying the club reserves the right to undertake all appropriate procedures necessary to validate the transaction at a later date, meaning they still want to sign Benrahma and they will try and make sure that happens, and hold West Ham responsible if necessary. The second one, of course, is Betis. That one didn't go through either. We were set up until like Jim says, on the live stream, waiting to see what would happen with the Fornals one. Ironically, in the way it goes, the second we end, I start seeing more information coming out from the Spanish side, where it was pretty empty for a while. And the Real Betis CEO has. This is from Sean. This is a tweet from Sean Whetstone at West Ham Football. Real Betis CEO Ramon Alcon explains the problem in formalising the signing of Pablo Fornals. The documents were sent, but a West Ham computer problem has stopped everything. Now it's the lawyer's job the club trusts. So essentially, it's all screwed. Neither of them have gone through, and they don't really know where it's going to go from here. Like you say, I can't imagine a situation in which this is just the end of it. We just cut them dry and we go, well,
absolutely no chance.
Where we've got, Benrahma's here, Fornals is here, we move on with that.
No chance.
I can't see a situation in which either player plays for the club again. Maybe like Fornals seems more likely, just because the Betis statement is so much more. Yeah, it was a computer problem. We'll figure it out. As opposed to Lyon, who just came out all guns firing. But I can't see a situation in which either player plays for the club again.
No, and West Ham did a statement via their journalists, which said a deal couldn't be struck for Said Benrahma as of 11 p.m. So he's basically still a West Ham player. So one of them are lying. West Ham or Lyon are lying. They're not saying the same thing. West Ham are saying a deal couldn't be struck. Lyon are saying a deal was done. West Ham just failed to insert the data into the FIFA system. So one of them are lying. And bearing in mind it's happened, we believe, according to the CEO of Real Betis, which I'm willing to take as gospel, it's happened with the Fornals transfer as well. So either West Ham are about to claim a deal wasn't done for Said Benrahma and Pablo Fornals, or they've made the mistake on both transfers. And then we go back to the question, did we do it intentionally, or is it just sheer incompetence? And I find it, this is where I haven't actually decided what I believe yet, Charlie, because I'm on two minds, right? On side A, I've got, which is, it's a mistake from the club because it happened to both transfers. Like I said, if Fornals went through fine and Benrahma's didn't, it would suggest that the club have done that on purpose. But the fact that both of them are in this state of limbo would suggest that it is an error of part. But on the flip side, Charlie, I just cannot convince myself. I cannot persuade myself that West Ham made a mistake like this. You just do not do it. This is bread and butter stuff for any football club, not just a Premier League football club. But then you add in the fact that we are a Premier League football club, and these transactions are worth €8 million and £17 million individually. I don't believe that the club just somehow forgot to do it. I genuinely think there's a chance that we thought the deadline was midnight UK time, when actually it was midnight French time for Lyon, and that's where we've gone wrong. and again, that is just sheer incompetence. But I just find it difficult to believe that this is a genuine error. I find it hard that.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Charlie, this is the equivalent, right? When myself, yourself, and other people that are self-employed had to insert their taxes by the 31st of January, right?
yeah.
That is the equivalent of us being unaware we have to submit our tax by this. If we all know we have to do it. So just like when they do a transfer, they know they have to insert it into the FIFA system for all international transfers. This is nothing new. They know it has to be done, and it hasn't got done. And if they say computer problem, again, I would question what that means really, because it's quite a vague thing. So what? A computer wasn't working. Well, I think we all know there's a solution here. Load up the next one. The Wi-Fi, okay. Worst case scenario, get somebody that's not in the same building as you to do it. There is 101 ways around this in this day and age. And we're not in the era of fax machines anymore.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for this not to be done on West Ham's part. And if Lyon can prove, which would be quite simple to do, if Lyon can prove they kept on reminding West Ham to do it, because I read an article this morning saying Lyon had it done an hour and a half before the deadline. Lyon was complete. So between Lyon finishing and the deadline, there was 90 minutes, and they kept on saying to West Ham, you haven't done your bit. And apparently, it takes less than 10 minutes to do. I had a little look this morning because I was intrigued to see how long is this process. Is it an hour-long thing? Do you have to send documents or what? Apparently, it takes less than 10 minutes, and essentially all you're doing is just inserting information as to like the club, the player, the bank accounts, the agents involved. You're just inserting information into a digital form, and that is it. It takes less than 10 minutes. And by the way, Gavino, we're aware Fabrizio said that. Like we said, both can be true. Fornals could have signed a contract, but West Ham haven't submitted the data, which is what has happened with Said Benrahma. There's no doubt in my mind that the deal was done between Lyon and West Ham. Benrahma signed the contracts with Lyon, and West Ham have scuppered this deal one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, for example, Simon says the club seems to be run in an amateurish manner, flying by the seat of Sullivan's pants. Never seem to be an appraisal of why transfer activity is so poor, ins and outs. Jonathan says the insinuation from Lyon is a damning one. They state that they were in constant contact and pointing out transfer hadn't gone through, so it's pushed firmly onto ours and our failings, which the Betis one does the exact same thing. It might do it in different language, it might do it in a nicer, less legal fashion, but it does the same thing. It goes, yeah, it was done, but there was a problem with West Ham's computers or something. It'll get figured out. Like, it's the same thing. It's still putting it on our side, and it's another thing. It's essentially the same story, just with the added little bit about a computer existing. Jonathan saying, I still think it's weird when Moyes asked after leaving the game Fornals and Benny leaving, he said, oh, I didn't know they were going, which makes me think it was intentional.
But Moyes also stated
he was very
business.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I think we've done some late business or something like that. It was very like, I don't know, it was very I don't know how
there was no clarity or authority like Slaven Bilic with Dimitri Payet.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
which is really, you have a situation with a player, he wants to leave. That is that. Yeah. It was very vague for Moyes.
Yeah. One thing we touched on a little bit last night was what Braw's saying here. Golden Boy Studden has gone down in my estimation. Very poor conduct. He probably shot himself in the foot for the Liverpool job. It's just frustrating because this is the sort of stuff that I had hoped was behind us. And I'm not just talking specifically about, look, for all we know, there might have been a computer problem, like Wi-Fi at the London Stadium, as we said, or whatever. For all we know, that's a possibility, right? I'm not going to rule it out. Let's just say it's a possibility, right? However, an hour and a half before deadline, it's not like Lyon's interest in Benrahma was new. It's not like it happened that morning or that afternoon, and then we tried to rush. Lyon, he was in Lyon. He was in France. He was wearing a tracksuit. He was walking around town. You know, he was there for a hot minute. It's happened already. And it's difficult not to look at the window as a whole and go, and it's difficult not to look at the window as a whole and just be anything other than incredibly disappointed by it at a very bare minimum. You've got a situation in which, you know, We knew early doors we wanted a left winger. We knew there were rumours that we knew there was interest in Benrahma, in Fornals, in Cornet. We know before that we wanted a left winger anyway. We tried to get one of the most exciting young ones around in Europe that even I like I try to keep up to date with like young players and what's going on and stuff. I had heard of Oshman before. We've dealt with the wrong agent for whatever time, and that's turned into an absolute legal nightmare. So we've backed away from that one. We've gone to Yotta and gone, right, let's figure out that one. That's turned into a massive legal trouble again. We've gone, do you know what, actually, we're going to leave that one again. And then a couple of ours are going to be leaving, and it's all turned into a massive legal trouble again. This is the sort of thing I'd hoped was done and dusted. That we were at least like, even if the business didn't work out, that it was going to be done in a professional, clean, clear-cut manner, like Kera was. The Kera thing, it happened early in the window. It was done. It was dusted. We made a decision. We went forward with it. We work our way from there. It's it's such a messy situation, and it's one that, frankly, we don't need, but more frankly, is completely unnecessary. None of this was necessary. The fact it's happened like this is insane to me.
Yeah,
I don't know how you want to sort of come down on it.
Yeah, it's difficult in regards to what Bro said regarding Steiden. My opinion hasn't changed of him.
Sure.
I just, but I've never considered him to be like the Messiah, if you like, because of my opinion on him via Leverkusen. And I think this is where there's been misconceptions regarding what Steiden did at Leverkusen. As far as I'm aware, Steiden was not involved in negotiating transfers at Leverkusen. There's people above him that did that. I think he was sort of in charge of overseeing identifying players. And, you know, he's got a nickname as the Pearl Diver, not as the shrewd negotiator or anything. He's got a nickname that relates to finding and unearthing talent, not about getting good deals. And that's why in the summer I was really impressed that he was able to do the deals for Kudus and Alvarez, because I felt that that was something new to him. So we're coming and then getting Jared Bowen signing a new contract as well. I'm willing to give them the credit for that. But coming into this window, and I always felt that it was almost too good to be true, the summer transfer window, in the sense that I was expecting errors from him in what I consider to be a promotion from the Leverkusen job for him. So they're expecting teething issues. And I think we've seen it at the very end of the summer transfer window. I think when he went to Brazil, and I know, listen, people, whenever I mention this, I get slagged off. I'm going to stick by it. He went to Brazil in the last few days of the summer transfer window and got nobody. And he made a call. He made a call. He put all his eggs in one basket, and it didn't work. He didn't get the man. He went to Brazil to get someone and didn't get him. And we ended up not signing an attacker at the end of the transfer window. It happens. But I think that was an error on his part. And then coming into January transfer window, I was impressed with Kera going quickly. You know, again, he went to Monaco to get that done. It got done really quick. I'm pretty happy with the conditions of the deal as well. So praise to him for that. The Yotta one, I don't blame Steiden at all. I don't believe that was Tim Steiden. I think that was David Sullivan. So in regard to Ibrahim Osman, that is at Tim Steiden's feet as far as I'm concerned. I think there's too many things that point to that being Tim Steiden. However, what I will say is I do think David Sullivan got involved in that as well and prevented Steiden from fixing his initial mistake. So Steiden's error, I believe, was dealing with the wrong agent, but I feel that could have been resolved. And I think Sullivan potentially pulled the rug on that deal, which prevented Steiden from fixing that. I don't know. That's just my opinion based on what we've been told and the evidence. But it's also based on having David Sullivan as chairman for over 10 years. Right? This stuff like that doesn't... If I told you Sullivan done that, you're not surprised. No. You're not surprised. You go, yeah, okay, probably something David Sullivan would do. My disappointment is more that it felt a little bit chaotic at the end of the transfer window, that calm that we had at the start and when we signed Calvin Phillips. Even in the summer, we did the business late, but it felt calm. Bringing in ward-prowse, Alvarez, Kudus, Mavropanos, it felt disciplined. It felt like we had a plan. We were sticking to it. We approached Harry Maguire, didn't want to come, fine, bin him off, move on quickly. I liked what we did in the summer. I felt it was really organised. This window, I think it's began organised with Kera and even Calvin Phillips. I think the window took a bit of a curveball because of the injuries to Jared Bowen and Lucas Paqueta. I think fear set in which was like, we need to get an attacker in now. We need to get rid of these players. And we've sort of, I mean, whoever's negotiated the deals for Benrahma, and not so much Fornals, but the Benrahma, I think it's a good deal. So it might be Steiden, it might be great. I don't know. It's a good deal that we've negotiated. Problem is, we ain't allowed it to happen. So listen, has Steiden gone down in my estimation? No. Have we had teething problems? Yes, but I expected these because of my opinion of him from his time at Leverkusen. And obviously, I just want to say thank you to Gaz for the £10 super chat. So he's still grumpy. Moyes is too stubborn. He's killing us. And we basically threw away the rest of the season. But guess we should have known after Liverpool in the Cup. Why do we dream? I don't think we've thrown away the rest of the season. I still think we can qualify for European football. Do I think we will? I don't know. Do I think I'll enjoy the football? No. But we're still 6th in the league. And we've been playing like this all season, in my opinion. So it's difficult. Still shambles, though.
Yeah, I guess we'll move on to the actual shambles on the pitch as well. I guess at this point, last thing I'll say on it, Darmesh just tweeted out 3 minutes ago: IT issues understood to be the problem. Fornals deal still expected to go through as it stands. It's going to be an on-running thing. We'll figure. It shows at the very, very least, it shows one thing, and that might be, look, our identification of targets might be getting better. We might be starting to build up that infrastructure, but clearly the other side of it still needs work. And we are a club who has essentially been run through one man, David Sullivan, doing everything for a long time.
Do you think Steiden knows an admin from Werder Bremen he can bring over as well?
Has he got a family
IT
member?
assistant.
Has he got a family member who's a whiz on the fax machine?
This is not even just a whiz. Knows how to type data.
Knows how to click confirm.
Yeah. Does Steiden know one of them? Can you bring one of those over?
We can only hope, because apparently we don't. Yeah, let's move on to the actual match itself. I mean,
before we do, can you tell people to download the SofaScore app, please?
Yeah, if you want to download the SofaScore app, I would highly recommend it. You know, it's a beautiful app that you can get on your phone. Basically, if you're into looking up stuff, it's such an easy way of figuring it all out. You know, the stat side of it. We're not even talking about when we talk about stats. We're not even talking about the super complicated stuff that people on Twitter are talking about that you might be sick of. We're talking about exactly. We're talking about the easiest stuff that understand that's actually useful and really easy to get to grips with. All available on the SofaScore app. Incredibly good way of keeping up with stuff, checking stuff. And for a situation like this, when me and Geo are talking about the game and thinking about, right, what did certain players do? How did we play? It's free. It's 100% free. I would highly recommend it. It's the link in the description below. Check it out. SofaScore. Use it because it helps us out a lot.
Anyway, the match.
I guess we'll start with the first thing that happened, right? And that is, of course, the massive mistake that leads to the goal. I don't blame Calvin Phillips at all. Almost, I think he does have a slight part to play in it. Obviously, because the ball he's receiving the ball. Player comes in. I think there's 3 things he could potentially do earlier. I think the first thing he could do earlier is just shield the ball better. Be aware of the guy coming in. You can shield the ball better of him coming in. Second thing he could do better, when the ball is coming towards him, move towards the ball instead of just standing there. I think he's clearly caught out and there's like a stutter movement, but he could probably go towards it. Third thing, and I think this is the big one for me, I don't know if he's calling for it earlier. I feel like he was in a position to receive that. This is why I blame Zuma 10 times more than he does, and I almost wouldn't bother talking about Calvin Phillips. Is he's in a position to receive that ball a hell of a lot earlier than he does, and Zuma almost looks as if he wants to pass it to him, but just doesn't for some reason, and I still don't know why. Watching it back, I'm like, why don't you just release that ball? I felt like at the time, I was like, Calvin Phillips in his space here, and he just doesn't do it. And there were a couple of times after that where Zuma, for some reason, just doesn't pass the ball to Calvin Phillips, and I'm not sure what's going on there. But I'm like, potentially there's a situation here where Phillips is not calling for it more. He's just expecting the ball to come to him, as opposed to going, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. I'll take responsibility for this. Outside of those things, I think it's Zuma's fault. The pass comes in incredibly late. The pass is awful when it eventually happens. He half falls over and sells Calvin Phillips short, and that's including a guy on rushing who then obviously forces Phillips. Ball bounces off, and it's a good finish at the end of it. So I not 100% blame Zuma, but certainly significantly more than anyone else in that scenario. But it's such an awful start to the game. In a game in which, at the beginning when we spoke about the lineups and stuff in the build up, I was like, I had some optimism and I was sort of like, do you know what? Maybe in the next game I'll feel differently about this lineup. But I'm looking forward to the game. I'm feeling like watching it. Like I'm looking forward to seeing Phillips play. And then 3 minutes in, it's done. It's such a difficult scenario for us to come back from, because we're not a team who we can be free flow scorers when we want to be, but that's not our bread and butter. And with the lineup that we had on the pitch, I was really unsure about the idea of us scoring more than one goal, and I thought it was going to be a struggle to get one. Hence my 0-0 score prediction, which I sort of regretted instantaneously. I said this on the live chat and the watch long after. I was like, I should have said 1-1. Why the hell did I say 0-0? The second I said 0-0, I was like, that's unlikely. But it's such an awful way to start, Gio. That it's
Yeah, it's bad from Zuma, poor from Phillips. 2 minutes in and you weren't 1-0 down, and your guy who's making his full debuts had a nightmare start because I think the next 15 minutes you saw a bit of shakiness from Calvin Phillips. His passing was a bit wayward. He committed a couple of cheap fouls as well. And it was just, I think it really rattled him, which is understandable. I think it does. Do you know, prior to last night's game, there was this bit of a laugh. And you know something, by the way, but when I say a bit of a laugh, I'm not criticizing that. I think it's important to be able to have the ability to joke and make light-hearted fun out of situations. So there was a bit of a laugh about how nobody was missing Near Figuered, right? About how nobody was keeping up with Morocco like we were with Kudus. Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. Last night, I started to miss Near Figuered.
Yeah.
His passing, and Zuma's got worse in the last month, I think. Like, I think his performances have declined pretty quickly, actually, and significantly as well. The drop-off between Zuma 3 months ago to the last couple of games, and this is with a big break as well. There's been a long break between Sheffield United and last night, and we believe he can't do it twice in a week. Well, he's just played last night, potentially has to play against Man United on Sunday. And I was watching him for the rest of the game, and he just looks slow. He looks clumpy. He looks injured. Unfit Zuma looks injured. Crocked Zuma looks further crocked. It was almost quite painful to watch, actually. At one point, I was thinking, do we sub Ogbonna on for Kurt Zuma? Is he worse than this? Because it felt like I was worried every time Bournemouth ran down to the inner right channel towards Zuma. I was panicking. I was thinking, this guy can't move. Like, he's immobile today. Yeah, I missed a Gerd last night, Charlie, for the first time since, well, he went away to the African Cup of Nations. So I'm hoping he's back for Sunday. And I'll be honest with you, I put him straight back in. I think, it's just not easy to watch.
For who? Who did you put him back in for? Was
Zuma.
It for Zuma? Yeah. Because the thing is, there was a moment where he ran up the pitch with the ball. And there's this thing he does at the end of every run where he sort of comes to stop and sort of, I don't know how to explain it, right? He's running along and he comes to the end and he sort of does this like little hop up as he sort of like, it's almost like he's readjusting his legs again to go, right, now I'm in walking mode again. I've been in running. And the way he moves just causes me such concern. I mean, you mentioned Ogbonna there, like, I didn't think there would be a defender at West Ham who I'd be more concerned about their movements. But if you asked me who I would rely on in an agility test out of the two of them, I would probably say Ogbonna, which is a concern if we're being honest about it. Because Jesus Christ, trusting Ogbonna to be agile and move around is a fool's errand at the best of times. Yeah. But there was just, I agree with you. I think his performances have dropped significantly. I think before this period, I would confidently say he was our best centre-back. And I still think in the instance of when he's standing in the area and doesn't have to pass, doesn't have to do anything, doesn't have to run with it, doesn't have to do any of that, he's still pretty good at it. And we saw the benefits to him to an extent when we did dare to press a little bit and we forced them to punt it long. He was just heading it away like there was no bother. He still has that thing that we would have signed him for. But it was a horror. It was just a terrifying performance to watch him play, and I think this isn't the first time. It's happened a couple of times in a row now, and it's becoming an increasing problem.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think when he's fully fit, he's our best centre back. The problem is he's never fully fit. But even a 90% fit Zuma is still a really good player.
Mm.
but he doesn't look anywhere near that at the minute. And in December, when his performances were not great, I put it down to fixture congestion, and it's a lot of games for someone like Kurt Zuma. It's it can't be easy.
Mm.
Well, we've just come back after 10 days away from without a game, and he looks like he played the night before. Anyway, there's a couple
Yeah.
of comments that made me smile, so let me click on them. Where are we? I've lost them. Sorry, Charlie. I was going to click on some comments that would hopefully make you smile, and I'll find them again. Jonathan said, I actually winced watching Zuma. In my head, all I can hear is his knees creaking and cracking. It looks off the pace and uncomfortable. It's unreal. And then Spencer said, we'll have to start going to meetings where people stand up and admit they have a drink and drug problem. I will stand up and say I've got a West Ham problem and I need help. Zuma went to one of them. You couldn't stand up.
I mean, it would not surprise me. It would not surprise me. I vividly remember having when I worked in finance, the person who sat opposite me was a Tottenham fan, and I didn't talk about football that much when I first got there, just because I was nervous. I didn't really talk that much at all. But I remember when they found out I was a West Ham fan, and they just went, "Really?" But in like the most earnest way, not in like a football fan rivalry kind of way, just in the most earnest way possible. It does feel a little bit like that today. The Calvin Phillips performance in general, I sort of want to talk about that a little bit because I, I think you're right. I think there was a period where he struggled a little bit, but I also think we saw why Calvin Phillips could be transformative to the team and why we should have put more trust in him and just giving him the ball more often. His passing range compared to anyone else is very good.
There was some passes. There was one into Ben Johnson. Went from the middle of the park right out to Ben Johnson, who was up in line with Bournemouth's defence at this point. Just landed it on his chest, and it's something we've seen Agerd do, and Craig Dawson used to do. And I think we missed that from Agerd yesterday, but I think Calvin Phillips had it. And when I was watching the game yesterday and I was thinking about the Zuma thing, I was thinking actually, because we've got Phillips now, this removes the need for Thomas Souček to be defending that defence. So arguably, you can maybe get away with what we would call a Mavropanos and a go, more likely to concede an error than Kurt Zuma.
Mm-hmm.
However, they also have better recovery pace, and you can play a higher line with those two than Kurt Zuma in defence. And I think sometimes you need to do other things in your team in order to accommodate that high line. And I was watching Alvarez and Phillips, and I thought, we've got it now. You cannot get, as a pairing defensively, they're solid in the middle of the park. Now, their distribution is pretty good as well. But in terms of protecting that back, your centre backs, those two as a pair are good. There's better defensive midfielders in the Premier League. Rodri's the best one. But who's the guy next to Rodri? Sometimes it'll be Rico Lewis, fair enough. But let's just say it's De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva. Well, Alvarez and Phillips are better than those two defensively. My point is, as a pair, that's quite a substantial protection for the defence. And I think you can maybe get away with playing a little bit more adventurous in a higher line. You can maybe get away with Paqueta being a third centre midfielder now with those two in there. Could you do it with Paqueta with ward-prowse next to Alvarez? Probably not. Could you do it with Souček next to Alvarez? Maybe, but there'll be a significant gap between Paqueta and then Alvarez and Souček. But actually now, the makeup of Alvarez, Phillips, and Paqueta, if you wanted, I think the issues you've had with the other two groupings, I think those weaknesses have gone now. And I think if you take Calvin Phillips's mistake in second minute out the game, I think he had an okay game.
I agree. Yeah.
It wasn't man of match, but I think we'd be more encouraged by it had he not made that huge error that led to Bournemouth's goal. But because of that, it overshadows the rest of the performance. And then the second thing is, in the second half, he was basically playing left midfield.
Yeah. I was going to say this. I was trying to put it up on the SofaScore app. You can't see it because of my camera. But if you look at his heat map, there is a significant chunk of time where he is on the left. If you
reduce the screen brightness, that's
a great shot.
You turn it right down, and then you'll be able to see it. Maybe not.
That's too low. That was too low, ladies and gentlemen.
But anyway, that's what there you go. That's Calvin Phillips's heat map. Everyone, left wing, brilliant.
Which is not. It's not unfair. It's not ideal. I think that is the obvious, but a big talking point from yesterday's match. Is just what the heck to do there now. when we don't have Paquetá. I was shocked. I wasn't shocked that Cornet didn't start. I was shocked that Cornet didn't come on sooner.
Yes.
Because it was. Look, I said this on the watch along, and I still agree with it. I understand why he played James Ward-Prowse on the left to begin with, and I understand.
Yeah,
Why he
I
sort of
get
went.
it. Again, I don't agree with it. Didn't want to see it, but I get it.
Yeah, and more importantly, after the fact, we've seen it's not worked, and I never want to see it again. Now, I'm guaranteeing we will, but I never want to see it again. I don't think it worked. I think it completely just breaks down everything we do. I mean, again, you look at the Zuma back pass, right? Not to concentrate too much on that, but in a different scenario, Paquetá's there, drops deep on the left hand side, can get involved in build up with Emerson. There's a different outlet to go through that side instead of turning around and going, "What the hell do I do? Where am I going to pass? What's going on?" James Ward-Prowse playing there, and this isn't a diss on James Ward-Prowse, although you can take it as a technical diss, I guess, but it's not one. It just deeply negatively affects everything across the board. And from James, and then when you look at just James Ward-Prowse specifically, it's an exercise in getting rid of almost everything he can do positively, and only highlighting the negative parts of it. I think it was an experiment. It didn't work. We write it off. We never see it again. Dear Lord, never see it again. But it does raise the question of what we do there. I think with Paquetá comes back, which hopefully will be for the next game, it's not a problem. We know what we do. We play Paquetá there. We're all good. Let's roll. When he's not there, I can't. We just have to play Maxwell Cornet there. And this is coming from a guy I don't particularly. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think
Said
Maxwell
Benrahma.
Cornet's the one. I think he's kind of done here. But you know,
Benrahma.
he's not doing anything else. He's not doing anything else. He can wear the Lyon kit while he does it if he wants. I'm fine with that. But this is coming from someone who's not particularly a huge Maxwell Cornet guy, but he just has to play. He has to, and I don't think that necessarily solves all of our issues. I mean, we saw when Jared Bowen moved there, and when other people moved there. When you put a traditional winger there, it's not what we want to do, but it at least helps a bit. Just having a guy who you can give the ball and he'll just sprinting up the pitch, which is what. But Cornet won't do that. He won't drop deep and get involved. So I don't think it's necessarily the issue. No, sorry, I don't think it's necessarily the solution, but I think it's probably the only one we have in that position at this point.
Yeah, I agree. He won't do it though. He'll stick with his forward, and this is a frustrating thing. I get why he did what he did with Ward-Prowse out on the left. Like I said, don't like it, don't agree with it, but I get it. But at halftime, we changed what we were doing. We moved to like a diamond forward midfield. Ward-Prowse came into the 10, Souček dropped back, and Phillips moved over. So at halftime, Moyes clearly felt it wasn't working. What he had done was not working with Ward-Prowse out on the left and Souček in the 10. It wasn't working. He needs to change it. And this is where I get frustrated because he's identified he's made an error, but his solution is just to reshuffle players rather than actually make a substitution. He's decided that he's just going to continue using the same players and just try and find another way of shoehorning them in rather than making... I was going to say a brave call. It's not even brave. I think it would have been easy to substitute Ward-Prowse at halftime and put Cornet on because the rest of them wouldn't have had to change. We wouldn't have had to alter anything else. It was quite an easy sub to make, actually. And I think he's actually picked the trickier option, which is, I mean, we were better in the second. I thought we were better in the second half. I thought we contained Bournemouth more, but we also still had little to nothing going forward. So while we defensively got better, offensively there was still nothing. And Bournemouth are a decent team, play good football and good form. Don't get me wrong, right? But we're at home. We can't. If that was an away game, I'd have said, "Yeah, that was good. We've done well there." But we're not. We're the home team, and we've approached that second half like we're the away side, which is respect the point a little bit. And I didn't like it. And like I said, when the manager admits he's done something wrong, and I think he's done that by changing formation, to then not do substitutions to rectify that error that he's just admitted, it doesn't sit right with me, especially when you have Maxwell Cornet sat on the bench who, listen, he scored in his last game. His confidence is the highest it's ever been at West Ham, probably. And his reward was a 3-minute cameo. So I don't know. That didn't sit well with me. I don't like it when we do stuff like that. It's almost like, oh yeah, it's not worked. I'll just reshuffle.
like I understand not making subs at halftime, even though I disagree with it. I understand like you shuffle it around, you see if that works, blah 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 blah. You knew it wasn't working significantly earlier than
Yeah,
48 minutes later.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like that could have happened earlier. I think my whole argument before the game, when we were talking about transfers, and I spoke about it on Twitter a bit, it's like I was okay with two of the three of those, the sort of Cornet, Benrahma, Fornals. I was okay with two of the three leaving. I mean, Fornals was the one who I wanted to stay. Ironically, it looks like he's not going to happen either now at this point, but he might do. Who knows? We'll see. Because I was like, do you know what? We can deal with one of them because we have Paquetá on the left. The other one becomes the de facto second choice. We now have two on the right. We have two up front. Like we still have the numbers necessary. I'm sort of okay with that. It gives younger players a higher opportunity of playing. Like blah 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 blah. I mean, this if you don't trust Cornet, don't keep Cornet.
yeah.
Why would you the two players that we got rid of? The two players we failed to get rid of were the two who actually get minutes under David Moyes. The guy who doesn't get minutes under David Moyes is the one who's staying. I was okay with one of them staying, is because I was like, oh, they're gonna have to play, but that's okay. It's not, bro, 93rd minute. What are you? And again, he's gone right. We're gonna keep it tight. We're gonna keep it there. We're gonna lock it down, and then end of the game, we'll bring him on. We'll see what happens.
You only did it because Kudus is knackered as well. And he was knackered. Kudus was knackered. But
It's so frustrating to watch, Geo, and it's not. You look at the game as an entirety. You look at the day as a whole as in its entirety. Just such a frustrating nightmare day. Like at the end of it, 1-1 with Bournemouth. Is that the end of the world? No. Is it good enough? No. But we get a point, whatever. But the performance is nowhere near good enough. At the end of the transfer window, is it good enough? No. Is it a fun time? No. It's just so unbelievably frustrating, and what feels like a bunch of needless mistakes and needless performances off the pitch and on it. And I can't be anything other than just looking at it and just going like, okay, all right, sure. And you look towards the next game, Man United, and hope for the better, hope for the best. Then look, I still think we could go to Man United and get a result. I still think we can go to Man United and get a win. But man, what a deflating situation. Wake up the next day, and if anything, the joy of the insanity of the moment is taken away for it a little bit, and just go, ah, man, that did all happen, didn't it? That really was. In the moment we can all sit and laugh, and we did for several hours, because what the hell else are you gonna do? A profound disrespect for the institution and all that. It's very funny, but you come out the end of it, and you're like, man, we've got impending legal cases to deal with. We've got two players who are probably absolutely furious at what's gone on. We've got a point when we shouldn't have, when realistically three was a huge potential there, partly due to our own mistake in terms of just a stupid back pass, leaving a goal in the 3rd minute, but also the other side of it in just not getting the goals we could have and should have got on the other end of it in a Bournemouth team that I don't think was that difficult to beat. Like, if I'm being honest about it, that wasn't like I've enjoyed watching Bournemouth this season. I think they've got better than they were when we first faced them. That wasn't an impregnable defense. That wasn't a
astute
powerhouse in that
the
sense.
second worst team in the league at defending set pieces, and we had one corner. We couldn't even.
And we aimed it, Geo, at the place we always bloody aim those bloody corners. What the hell are we doing? Why are we doing this? Not to bring it back again. We've got the best. Why are we doing this?
To be fair, his free kicks were shocking last night. Ward-Prowse's free kicks were terrible.
They were bad.
They were really bad last night. But we've done this thing now where we stand a yard offside before he takes a free kick. Now, also, the defence runs in. But the reason I don't like it, I get why we're doing it, because the defence are now running towards their own goal and whatever. But our players are jumping from a standpoint. They've got absolutely no momentum whatsoever to get on that cross and get the head on it. I don't even like how we approach these set pieces. It's a case of, like you said, let's get possibly the best set piece taker in the league, have him whip in a delicious ball, not to corners, and hope someone does something and gets on the end of it, rather than having like some form of plan as to what to do and how to mix them up and whatever. And it's Yeah, somewhat frustrating, but anyway, shall we leave it there? We'll be here all day, Walsh.
Yes, yes. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. We aim to do these 9 a.m. after every single game. And we actually did it today. What a time to be alive. We missed a couple and the wonkiness, but we're there now. So join us after the Manchester United game, 9 a.m. straight after, to discuss what happens. Thankfully, we won't have at least a transfer window shambles to talk about at the same time. Just the performance shambles potentially, but we'll see how it goes. But if you haven't already, make sure to like the video. It helps us out a ton. Subscribe down below. Hit that bell notification button so you don't miss out on any future videos. And we will see you next time. Cheers, everyone. Thanks for coming. Bye. Bye. Where's the button? Bye.